All right, let's dive into something I think we've all encountered, even if we couldn't quite put a name to it. You know the person I'm talking about, right? The one who argues with this just unshakable confidence, but the longer they talk, the less sense it all makes. And you're just left there in a conversation that's going absolutely nowhere. So frustrating.
So, what if that's not just, a quirky personality trait? Turns out psychology actually has a lot to say about this. This kind of behavior and a few other habits that go along with it might actually be a window into how someone's brain works. So, today we're going to break down the actual science-backed signs.
Okay, so first up, the confidence puzzle. Let's start with probably the most baffling part of this whole thing, that rock solid but completely misplaced confidence. So the very first sign, and it's a big one, is this tendency to be overconfident without actually understanding the topic. I mean, they'll speak with total certainty, but there's no real logic behind it. The second you ask them, hey, can you explain why you think that? Poof, the whole argument just falls apart. And this isn't just someone being stubborn. It's a well-documented cognitive glitch.
And yeah, this thing actually has a name. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's this wild paradox where the less a person knows about something, the more they think they know. Their lack of knowledge is the very thing that stops them from realizing how little they know. It's like they don't have the tools to even see that their toolbox is empty.
Now, this overconfidence usually doesn't travel alone. It's often paired with another major indicator. And this one isn't about what someone knows, but how they think. Or maybe more accurately, how they don't. We're talking about two big patterns of inflexible thinking here. First, having zero curiosity to learn new things. And second, this habit of seeing the world in just black and white. Think about it. Truly intelligent minds are always asking why. They want to dig deeper. But for some folks, new ideas feel, well, threatening. It's like a challenge to their ego. So instead of exploring, they just stick to what they already know. It's their comfort zone. The psychological term for this is cognitive rigidity. It's basically the inability to be flexible in your thinking or to change your mind when new information comes along. This is what leads to that extreme black and white thinking. Everything is either 100% right or 100% wrong. You know, like that friend who thinks a movie is either the best thing ever made or it's complete trash. There's just no middle ground. So what does this look like in the real world? Well, when you throw a really complex topic at them, say something like economics or global politics, they can't handle the nuance. It's overwhelming. So they just fall back on these super simple, easy slogans. It's just easier that way. All right, let's move on to impulsive emotional reactions. Now, this next part is really fascinating because it links up cognitive intelligence with something we usually think of as totally separate, our emotional control. And you can see the difference so clearly. On one side, you've got that knee-jerk, impulsive reaction, just acting without thinking. On the other, you have a thoughtful response, pausing, thinking, and then acting. And what's wild is that research shows a really strong link here. Lower cognitive ability often goes hand in hand with lower emotional intelligence. And that combo is a recipe for impulsiveness. And you see this pop up in a few key ways. Maybe they get offended really easily, or they can't seem to control their anger or frustration over tiny little things. They just act on a feeling without ever stopping to think about what might happen next. That ability to just pause, that's actually a huge cognitive skill. Okay, our last big category is what we can call the logic-resistant mindset. And this is a mindset that makes having a rational conversation feel pretty much impossible. It all comes down to how someone handles blame and disagreement. And there are two classic signs here. First, constantly blaming other people for everything. And second, completely shutting down when faced with an opinion that's different from their own. So whenever something goes wrong, what's their first move? It's always to point the finger at someone or something else. There's a term for this too. It's called having an external locus of control. It means they truly believe that life is just something that happens to them, that their problems are always caused by outside forces. And of course, this is a great way to protect their ego because it means they never have to look in the mirror. And it gets deeper because their ideas are so tangled up with their ego, they just can't separate the two. So if you challenge their opinion, you're not just disagreeing with them, you're disrespecting them. It feels like a personal attack. So a simple discussion isn't about finding the truth anymore. It's a fight, and it's a fight they have to win. So, to recap, we've got the overconfidence, the rigid thinking, the emotional outbursts, and the constant blame game. But there is one last,
crucial piece that kind of ties this whole thing together. The ultimate blind spot. So, what's the really scary part of all this? What's the one thing that makes this whole pattern so difficult to break? It's this. The lower your IQ, the less you're able to see your own flaws. That's the ultimate blind spot. It's where that Dunning-Kruger effect we talked about comes full circle. The very thing causing all these habits is also the thing that stops them from ever realizing they have them. It's like they're shielded from self-awareness by their own limitations. So if you try to point any of this out, you'll probably just get confusion or maybe even anger, because from where they're standing, there's nothing wrong. It's a completely closed loop. But I want to leave you with this one final thought. The very fact that you're here, that you were curious enough to learn about this stuff and think it over, well, if we go by the principles we just talked about, that says something pretty great about you, doesn't it?